Good morning. Right, it is Sunday morning. I've got my cup of tea. I've got time on my hands. I've done some preparation. We'll discuss that in a moment. And I am going to get onto the bike. And we will see, well, we are going one way or another to sort the back end of this bike out. It's been controversial. There's been a lot of feedback. I have listened to the feedback. Okay, so, cup of tea in one hand, printed out comments in the other. Let's look at these because there was clearly a common thread in what you were saying. I don't think there's many channels that will print the comments out and go through them, but let's give this a try. There's not too many, but there's a common thing. So, look, the first comment I got was from Woody Sambusa. Mate, you got a grinder, you got a welder, cut the horrible rear subframe off and build your own. Not quite that simple, but okay, that's the point. Second comment, springy. He says, I'm with Woody. The right way forward would be to build your own subframe, lose the original, build your own tube and weld it. And he says he's tried and it's failed. Okay, well, it failed to keep the original subframe, I should say. So, alright, 2 votes for cutting it off. Third one, better off building subframe to the hoop rather than trying to accommodate it. Okay, and then this goes on. So, you know, we've got Bob here, ditch the original ugly subframe, start fresh, including new shock mounts. We'll get to that in a moment. Someone's saying, Free Ranger, have a look at some Triumph Desert Sleds. Yes, I mean, beautiful bikes. I understand there's styling cues I can take from that, but I can't build a desert shed. That's not what I'm capable of. Colin Colville, sorry. Build your own subframe, it's the best way. You need it welded properly. Yeah, okay. Failing to cut that, cut the pressed frame sections back closer to the shock mounts, angle the supports pieces to the hoop. Interesting suggestion, that one. Someone else in the shed, the problem is that it now looks like all the stems, all the pressed ugly stem frame is still there. Even if you cut it short, be bold, cut it off completely. Either new subframe, which is difficult, or get a subframe from another bike, bolt it on. I don't have a way of looking at other subframes to determine if something would fundamentally fit in with what I'm trying to achieve. I'd love to go into like a big warehouse where all these subframes are there and I could just measure up and pick them up and look at them. Without that, I don't feel that taking a subframe from another bike is something that I'm capable of practically doing. But I like the idea. Super Mason, thank you. Yeah, glad to see you lowering it. One comment, positive. But, someone else suggests cutting all the subframe and reconstructing it. Are they not thinking about the implications of registering it? Okay, so if we touch on that quickly, absolutely. If I was to cut off the back of the bike and change it, that would certainly call my historic registration into question. To be fair, I've already changed the front end, so I think there's a high probability I've already shot myself in the foot with that. I don't think changing the back would have a further legal ramification. But again, I'm really concerned about my very amateur capabilities of building something here which is definitely, not probably, but definitely strong enough to take the rear suspension and all the forces that's going to go through it. So, that was the comments. It's worth saying, everybody who commented, thank you. You were all commented respectfully. I really do appreciate that. So, you know, great crowd. Well done, guys. It makes me feel good about the community. Now, going back to what I can do, should do. I am trying to build something which I intend to use as a scrambler. It's not going to be used exclusively on the road, it will be on tracks and trails. Light work, we're not talking about jumps and hoops and it's not a full-on trail bike or anything. But I want to take it down gravelled tracks and light grassy tracks and things. So the suspension is going to get a full workout. And one of the things was, well, can I change the shock mounts? Can I put longer suspension on? If I do that, and I have looked at this, my problem is articulation of the swinging arm. So the swinging arm itself is joined into this core spine of the frame, and if you try and increase the articulation, the swinging arm actually hits the frame itself. So unless I wanted to really get into starting to modify the core frame, the backbone of the frame, I can't get much more articulation. And if I can't get much more articulation, there's very little point in increasing the length of the shocks. So I'm suspecting keeping the standard length shocks is probably my best option. I'm not looking to jump or anything, so I think that'll be okay. Removing this pressed steel frame here, I don't disagree with that. I was always going to minimise it, but I think what the comments here and some excellent help and work from K.I. Hested, let me show you. He's taken his thoughts and I think probably some of these comments, and then him being more artistic than me, has created an image using Photoshop, which is of his bike, but with my tank and seat on it, mounted in a way which has been suggested and looks feasible. Now, I quite like that look. It's along the lines of what I'm aiming for, but I think the angle here, continuing that frame, I think that improves the aesthetics. It gives me the height I need for the rear wheel, and if anything, I think this bar here, if I can cause it to rise up at the back here, I think that's as good as I can possibly do. It is minimising the pressed frame, it is utilising the tubed frame that is already there, so this, because I can't improve on that. I mean, that is being built by Honda to precision. I can't match that precision, I can't match that strength. So let's use that and minimise the ugly. So I think my decision has been, the work I did in the last upload creating these stays, yeah, alright, well and good, call it practice. I'm going to try and create new standoffs following this line here, building from this section, because actually, I'll show you close up in a minute, there's a clear marking here where this triangle piece changes into that back strut. So if I was to remove that completely, and I need to fill it in and make sure it's all no less strong than it is now, I think that's my way forward. So I have listened to you all. I'm trying to find something which is within my capability and achieves the best result I can do. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and try to create something like this using that triangular section there to angle off a support and mount the seat. It might not be exactly like this, but that's the principle of what I'm aiming for. I've got very basic tools. As one comment, as K.I. said to me, I've got a file, a grinder, patience. Let me just start working out what I can do. This is going to be a slow process for me. I won't include a lot of it for you. But please do understand, I am doing my absolute best on this bike to build something that I want, taking into account your comments. And the fact that I'm not going to change the shocks and I'm not going to replace the entire back end, some of you probably will disagree with, but it's the best I can do. So I am going to move forward. Right, that said, just drink my tea. Start working out how I'm going to do it, because I don't yet know. Right, well, I'm going to get started. And I think the best thing I can do to begin with is just start putting some masking tape over the area that I think I'm going to be working on, because it will help me mark up in such a way that I can then actually see what I'm doing. Now, I was meant to be doing this last weekend. That was the plan. But if any of you in the UK, you will know that last weekend was quite pleasant weather, and I had a little job to do. Where's my pen? I had a little job to do last weekend, and scope creep. So what started off as trying to investigate a structure that's on the side of my property resulted in me completely removing it. So yeah, so I've now got several hundred tiles that I no longer require, and some very strong steel posts that were holding the structure up. Don't know what I'm going to do with them. Maybe I'll cut them up. Anyway, look, for now, I'm going to try to follow the line of that support there. So if I put a straight edge on that, and then mark here, and here. Let's see if I can do the other side as well. Didn't let me, or that might be in the way. Yeah, I think I can do that. So, in theory, stay. Don't move. Okay. Can I build something that sits on here, there, and then joins up there? So I'm following that angle, and that would potentially allow me from this point backwards, or thereabouts, there backwards, to actually lift that up so that this hoop then starts to follow. So we've got this line in the seat. The hoop could potentially lift up a bit so that it actually follows the top of the seat up here. So it's no longer underneath, it's now behind. Right, let me start measuring this up, and we'll cut out some tubing and begin to work out what shape it needs to be. Might even get the old protractor out for this. Doubt it, but we'll probably do it by eye. That's the thought anyway. Right. Right, I've been sat here for about half an hour now just looking at this. These are the stays I originally created. That was the first attempt, very thin, very high, and unanimously everyone said that just looks like a set of stilts and it was no good. I then went shorter, stouter, stronger, and replaced that with this. But I'm not trying to create a flat tracker, and that was the point that's been made multiple times. I want the height, I want the back end to look like it's purposeful and it's got suspension travel, even if in reality it's got not a huge amount. So I like the height here, and you're not adjusting the seat height because the seat height obviously just pivoted at this point anyway. So in fact, where I sit is largely unchanged. It's styling, and I want the back end to look high. I think if I put it about this height, and I've obviously mocked it up with just a block of wood, if I can collect a bit of an uptick here at the back, bit of a sweep. So bend it here and have that piece, this loop here, following the top of the bottom of that seat. I think that would be good. So before I go any further, that's the height I'm going to go for. I like that, I like the aesthetics, I've walked around it, I've spent time staring at it. It might not look it on camera, but to me that looks about the height I want. So I'm going to take my thick bar and I'm going to start measuring up. And I think that from the base of that to there, I need about 110 mil. So let's cut a few of these, start trying to work out angles and attachment points, and I don't know. I'm going to work on that. Let's mock these up, let's get these to something that I can actually put in place and maybe tack into place. And if that looks the way I'm expecting it to look, and following this line here and copying that styling there, if I can get that, if it achieves the look and the height I want, then I can commit and remove all this press steel frame. Right, let's get cutting. Quick aside, interesting observation. So I want to start working with this bar, and I put the vise on the end of the bench, and I put it where I thought, yeah, I want it on the corner, so I've got space and I can put long items in it and things. And I've just gone to use it for the first time with something actually pointing downwards. And what I've noticed is I can't tighten it because the back jaw doesn't move, and I haven't got the back jaw protruding over the edge of the bench. So, rookie ever, learn from my mistakes. I'm going to remount that slightly further forward so that I can actually put something in vertically that might be longer than that, and it won't foul on the bench. Yeah, this is just typical of me. You think you're doing it right, and you're not. Let's sort that out. Right, that's better. That's where the vise should have been, so I can actually hold long items vertically without fouling the bench. Okay, learn from my silly mistakes. Right, I now need to start measuring these up and cut a couple of these at 110 mil each. Weather is awful today. I don't know if any of you, well, I'm sure many of you in the UK, the first named storm of the winter apparently, which means that outside is foul. Heavy winds and rain. Thankfully, inside here is okay today. Yesterday, the garage flooded. So we had biblical amounts of rain overnight, and it just overwhelmed the drain system. The water off the driveway runs down towards the garage, and there's like a French drain that should carry it away. The drain's not blocked, there's nothing wrong with it, it just didn't cope with the sheer volume. So I have a plan on how to improve that, which I will need to implement at some point in the near future, but not today. That can wait. Right, let's get these cut and then work out the angles and how the hell I'm going to fix them. Alright, I've been on and off this now for probably a couple of hours, and I have had distractions and I had to go and do something else, but to cut this at that angle, the correct angle, which was the third attempt, has not been easy. I've got that now, so I've got this straight edge which I've clamped to the bike in line with this upright, so that can sit precisely there. And it sits there and it will match that angle. So I'm happy with that, but of course it won't stay there, it won't sit there because, well, it couldn't possibly. So you have to hold it, mark it, cut it, hold it, mark it, cut it. So I've got that which will sit on the frame, but now I've got to work out how to get this, get a bit of wood out of the way, come on, out of the way. Now I've got to try and hold this and mark it and work out how to cut the circular section out of this. So it's already at an angle, and then I need to cut more out from the centre and a little out from the back so that the edges come up the side. Yeah. Okay, I will find a way, but I don't have a way yet. I just keep putting masking tape on it, marking it with a pen, cutting away the bit I'm confident needs to be removed, offering it up, and just going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And when I've done this, which I will, I then need to create an exact mirror image. Okay. See, now when you watch other channels, they just create a frame, they just create something, they just weld something on. Right, well, I'm nowhere near the level of just doing anything. But I think I'm going the right way. I think using the straight edge is going to work for me. I think that will get me the right angles and it gets me the right position. I just need to now get this so it will sit on there, and then maybe I can, see how am I going to, yeah, I'm going to have to clamp it all together and then tack it all in place. Right, well, I've got clamps, so that should be possible, I think. Okay, so I've put the tube in so that line is vertical, and if I take the tube that goes in the top and hold it, I can sort of visualise how that's going to go in now, and that to me looks as though I only want to remove from the back here, because that looks like when it goes in, the front of that tube will naturally be held by this front here. So I reckon, yeah, I'm going to start by just concentrating on removing some of the material from the back, and we'll see how that looks. That is not perfect, but it is pretty okay. So let's try and see if I can offer that on the bike. And let's see if that matches the frame in any way. Probably not. It's getting closer. So there's the upright, and it continues up through there. It's not quite the right angle at the moment, but if you look in there, there's still a bit of a gap. So I still need to take more off this leading edge, but it's not a million miles out. If I can just get that to sit better. So yeah, I think more off that edge, that will bring it further upright, which will then match the angle. But it's getting there. At the moment it's just held together with magnets and shims to try and hold this at the right level and all sorts of things. But okay, right, a little bit more off the inside of that, which, yeah, some more off here. It's getting close. Okay, I think I got the angle right now. So there we go, so the line comes up there and just continues straight up. And it's there. Got it just about okay. I think I just need to take the sides off of these now. So I think I've got the angle correct there. Look, let's just hold them with magnets. But I think I just need to, yeah, just flatten that side off a little. And then I think that will be a better, cleaner fit at the top. Hey, it's much later in the evening now, but I have a matching pair of supports. So I've got the angles copied between the two, and they are looking pretty damn good to me. Okay, yep. That's the second one made. Now that's mocked up with bits of wood and magnets and all sorts, but hopefully you can see that. So on this side, we got the line running up here, continuing and joining up to the seat loop. And we got the same on the other side as well, look. Now, as I say, that's just held in with magnets and things. But in principle, I think she's there, you know. So I need to now concentrate on how do I bend this back of the seat loop. Yeah. Hello. So I need to concentrate now on how am I going to get the back of this seat loop to bend upwards. I guess with enough heat and a strong enough vice it should be possible, but I'm not sure about that, so I'll probably need to knock this out, mark it up and then work on that, but that's not for tonight, it's getting a bit late now. But that is all I can do, because until I've done that I can't tack these on, and if I can't tack them on then it's just magnets holding them together. But there we go, third attempt. I think that is genuinely much better. So look, I thank everybody for their feedback. Thank you KI for your work mocking up an illustration of how it could look. Took longer than anticipated, as is always the case, but I think we are getting somewhere now. So from me, that's all I've got time for. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe to this, and we will continue to move forward together. Bye for now.